After I divorced my wife, Mariko, my daughter, moved to Japan with her. Mariko's daughter, who loved the US, moved there at the age of 25. She applied for a job at a publishing company, aiming to work in the American publishing industry, which was her dream. However, the two interviewers,
A person who can't write English in a publishing company.
Your English is still not good enough. You need to study more to communicate properly.
they relentlessly mocked her. Even though they made unpleasant remarks, she held back her frustration. Even though she said she was an American citizen and fluent in English, they didn't listen. After mocking her thoroughly, the interviewers told her she was hired. But this was part of a scheme by the two.
My employee ID has the name Incompetent on it.
She returned from the induction ceremony with a face full of sadness and anger. After hearing the situation, I stormed into the induction ceremony and declared, "Everyone's fired. This building will be demolished. My name is James Smith. I had a beloved wife and daughter, but I got divorced when my daughter was in elementary school. The reason for the divorce was clear. While I was engrossed in my work, I ended up neglecting my family. My wife, who came with me to the US when we got married, returned to her home country with our daughter. However, I find my job fulfilling, and I have no regrets. I think about opening doors to different cultures and becoming a bridge between countries around the world. The one who inherited this same mindset is Mariko. Mariko is my only daughter, born to my foreign wife. I met my wife while working for a foreign company and being stationed overseas. Generally, the locals were charming and friendly. I appreciated how they were assertive and clearly communicated their opinions and intentions. Mariko has the same social nature, easily getting along with anyone with her bright personality. However, I divorced my wife when our daughter was in elementary school.
Thank you for always working late, but we haven't had much conversation as a couple for a long time, and I don't feel the meaning of being together anymore. I think it's better for both of us to consider different paths for our futures.
That's what she told me. I made my wife, who chose to live in the US, feel lonely by being away from her family and friends. That's why I respected her opinion. After the divorce, Mariko moved to her mother's home country with her. Her name changed from Mariko Smith to Mariko Yokoyama. After about 15 years, she moved back to the US. I arrived at the airport and waited near the gate where her flight would arrive, feeling both joy and nervousness. I was looking forward to seeing my daughter again and couldn't sleep at all the previous night. As her flight arrived and passengers started coming out of the gate, I searched for her. When Mariko appeared, I waved and called out with a big smile, "Mariko." Mariko, also excited to see me again, left her large suitcase behind and ran straight towards me.
Dad,
We hugged and shared the joy of our reunion. Holding hands, we left the airport and headed home. Mariko, who loves American fashion and food culture, dreams of working in the US using her language skills.
I want to share the American culture I love with the world.
To help her get closer to her dream, I recommended a company. On our way home from the airport, we decided to stop by that company. This is the company where you will have your interview soon.
I'm getting kind of nervous.
If you just be your cheerful self, you'll be fine. As we had this conversation, I suddenly felt someone staring at us. Looking in the direction of the gaze, I saw two people in suits watching us closely. "Is there something you need?"
Well,
They sneered at us.
nice. Holding hands with a young, pretty foreign woman.
"No, she's my daughter."
Daughter. You have a foreign daughter?
It's a secret relationship.
The woman whispered to the man, just loud enough for us to hear. Feeling uncomfortable, I held back my anger, knowing it wouldn't be good to start a conflict in front of Mariko. "Do you work for this company?"
Yes, we do. As you can see, it's a major corporation, not a place for people like you.
Hey, just a minute.
"Let it go, Mariko." Mariko, with her straightforward nature, couldn't stay silent without expressing her thoughts. She wanted to clearly convey her discomfort. However, the people she was about to confront might be employees of the company she was going to work for. I wanted to avoid putting her in a disadvantageous situation. But standing beside my still irritated daughter, I clearly remembered. The names on their employee badges were Basil Hofon and Vesperin Hartwell. Even after we got home, Mariko's frustration didn't subside.
Dad, I don't want to go to that company.
"Don't worry about it. Those two were just odd, but the company is full of talented people."
Really?
"Yes, I guarantee it." One day, Mariko, looking tense, was practicing for her interview in the living room. She was organizing her strengths and experiences, thinking about how to best present herself, and writing notes.
Dad, can you play the role of the interviewer?
"Got it."
I guess I'll start with an introduction. Hello, I'm Mariko Yokoyama.
She attempted to bow deeply to me, the mock interviewer, as she said that, "Mariko, in America, after you greet the interviewer, you shake hands. Nobody bows that deeply here."
Really? That seems so casual.
"Yeah, compared to Japan, it is. By the way, there's also this strange etiquette about knocking on the door slowly 3 times. I drilled her on the basic interview manners.
Next, how to answer questions. How should I answer that one?
"Well, it's not bad, but you could give a more specific example." Mariko thought about the answers to common interview questions. She then refined her responses based on my feedback.
All right, let's try again.
Mariko practiced over and over, so she could approach the interview day with confidence. Finally, the day of the interview arrived. In the morning, Mariko prepared herself with a mix of nerves and excitement. "Mariko, be confident. No matter the outcome, you'll be okay." I smiled at Mariko and lightly patted her shoulder. Encouraged by my words, Mariko walked out with her head held high. Here's what she told me about the interview. When she entered the interview room, she was shocked.
Nice to meet you.
It's not our first meeting, is it? You're the girl from the other day? Right. Bold of you to show up for an interview after that.
The interviewers in front of her were the same rude ones from before, Basil Hoffon and Vesperin Hartwell.
I apologize.
Well, it's fine. Have a seat.
Thank you.
Mariko decided to stay calm.
So, where are you from?
Yes, I was born here in the US, but my parents got divorced when I was 8. After that, I lived with my mother in her home country.
That makes sense. I thought you seemed like a strong-willed young lady. So, how serious are the people in your mother's country about their work? In the US, laws and quality are prioritized, but how is it in your country?
Vesperine's question momentarily surprised Mariko, but she calmly explained the work ethic in her mother's home country. However, Basil and Vesperine continued to ask questions reflecting negative preconceptions about her country and culture.
I've heard people in your country are lax with time. Is that true? It would be a problem if they worked loosely here.
Mariko tried her best to defend her roots, but the atmosphere of the interview grew heavier.
Can you even speak English? Do you understand slang?
Basil fired off questions rapidly.
Yes, I speak Japanese, English, and French. However, since I lived abroad for most of my life, I'm not very good with slang.
A person who doesn't understand slang working in publishing. It's bold of you to even apply.
And your English still needs improvement. You need to study more to communicate effectively.
Vesperine's unexpected comment left Mariko speechless with shock and disappointment. During the rest of the interview, the two continued to ask questions about my ex-wife's country. It felt like they were suggesting that her country and culture were not suitable for an American company. After the interview, Mariko felt dejected, thinking her efforts had been in vain. What bothered her most was the unfair questions and comments driven by cultural misunderstandings and prejudices. It caused her significant stress and discomfort.
I hate this company. I worked so hard to prepare for the interview, and it ended like this. It was my dream to work here.
With tears in her eyes, she gazed at the atrium of the lobby for a while. Feeling a bit karma, she was about to leave when suddenly someone called her name from behind.
Ms. Yokoyama, Mariko Yokoyama.
It was the rude Vesperine.
Yes.
I needed to give you this.
Vesperine handed her an envelope. Inside was a notice of an official job offer.
What? What does this mean?
In this global era, we need women like you. We couldn't risk another company hiring you, so we issued the notice immediately.
Laura couldn't hide her confusion at Vesperine's sudden change in attitude.
Once your official hiring is confirmed, we'll send you an email with the details of the induction ceremony.
Mariko was overjoyed, realizing she had really been hired. When she got home, my daughter ran straight to me.
Dad, guess what? I got the job offer.
I was honestly stunned. I had never heard of that company giving an offer on the same day. But there it was, her name on the documents. I would later regret not thoroughly checking the contents of the documents at that time. On the day of the induction ceremony, our house was filled with excitement. Mariko woke up early, got ready, and dressed in a suit. Her expression was a mix of nervousness and anticipation. It's time to go. Seeing Mariko in her new suit made me feel emotional. I smiled gently, just like on the interview day, and gave her a supportive pat on the back, proudly watching her leave. But soon, Mariko returned home. Did you forget something? The induction ceremony just started. Why are you back home?
No, my employee ID has incompetent on it.
What? Incompetent? When she explained the situation, my hands shook with anger. The new employees gathered in the company lobby to head to the induction ceremony, holding their employee badges that had been distributed in advance. One by one, They approached the gate and held their badges up to the reader. However, when Mariko tried to pass through the gate, an error message suddenly appeared on the display and she was denied entry. She checked her employee ID and turned pale. It didn't have Mariko's name on it, but instead read Incompetent Yokoyama. Other employees and staff rushed to understand what was happening, but everyone stood there in stunned silence. Then, with the sound of heels clicking, Vesperin appeared in front of her.
I've heard the situation. Sorry, it seems there was a mistake. Your name isn't on the list of new employees.
What? What do you mean?
Oh, didn't I mention? What I gave you was an unofficial job offer. It was like a verbal promise. It wasn't an official hiring notice. See, you really didn't understand English. We found someone much more competent than you, someone who actually understands English.
Mariko was speechless.
The employee badge was just made for fun and accidentally ended up with you.
That's terrible. Why would you do something like that?
Other employees who witnessed the whole scene murmured in disapproval.
It's your fault for trying to challenge me.
Mariko dropped everything she was holding onto the floor and ran out. Hearing what happened, I couldn't stay put and headed straight to a certain place. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the final preparations for the induction ceremony were underway.
Ms. Vesperin, about what just happened in the lobby. Is everything all right? If the president finds out, it could be a big problem.
Don't worry, the president won't hear about it. I don't care where the president is or what he's doing right now. He's not interested in trivial matters like this.
Vesperin smirked.
Why did you do that? Couldn't you simply not hire her?
Our company constantly has people applying, right? And most of them are incompetent and not suited for us. It's a hassle to go through resumes and interviews over and over.
The male employee questioned Vesperin's methods and tried to argue from a moral standpoint.
But that doesn't mean you had to treat her like that.
These foreign-obsessed girls irritate me. I thought using her as an example would spread the rumor that incompetent people shouldn't come here.
Do you really think that's a good approach?
The cold-hearted Vesperin tried to justify her actions.
If it stops incompetent people from coming, it's worth it. It makes our job easier.
But it put her through a lot.
Maybe, but it's necessary for our benefit.
Pursuing personal gain by hurting others can damage the organization's credibility and internal atmosphere. Everyone present likely felt this way. Suddenly, an employee came running.
Vesperin.
Hello, Mr. Brown from HR. What's up?
Look at this. What have you done?
He held up his smartphone, displaying a post on social media. Seeing the screen, Vesperin's face turned pale.
What is this?
Someone had recorded the entire incident with Mariko and posted it online. The video quickly spread, and the comments were unbearable to read.
That lady should quit.
You're the real incompetent one.
Spread this. Let her face social consequences.
The viewers echoed the sentiments of every employee who had witnessed the incident. The video clearly showed who was truly detrimental to the company. Vesperin held her head in her hands and slumped.
What are we going to do? This spread so quickly, and the induction ceremony is about to start.
To avoid further issues, let's proceed with the ceremony as planned.
So, despite the delay, the induction ceremony commenced. The ceremony proceeded as if the earlier incident hadn't happened. The executives stood on stage and conducted the ceremony. They offered words of encouragement and welcomed the new employees. Basil, who had been involved in the incident, gave a speech as the representative of the HR department.
Dear new employees, we apologize for the earlier trouble. However, I believe this experience has given us an opportunity to learn and grow. We are confident that you will overcome this challenge, come together stronger, and move forward.
I inwardly scoffed at his words.
Today, you are welcomed as members of this company. We hope you will face any challenges with a sense of responsibility and pride, grow with us, and achieve success together.
Applause filled the venue. During the induction oath ceremony, the new employees raised their hands in unison, pledging their loyalty and responsibility to the company. The sense of unity and determination spread throughout the venue, creating a moment of inspiration. However, Mariko was not present. The frustration of not being able to see her smile made my blood boil.
Next, we will have a greeting from our president, Smith, to the new employees.
I was called to the stage.
That's the man who was in front of the company.
Yes, I am the president of this company. By the way, the chairman is my father. Originally, my father was supposed to give this speech, but I persuaded him to let me speak. At this induction ceremony, I extend a heartfelt welcome to all of you. Our company places great importance on ethics. Those who lack ethics may be deemed incompatible with our values. I spoke with emphasis, thinking of a certain individual. Always strive to act with integrity and honesty. I believe this leads to the growth and prosperity of our organization. I glared at Basil. His pale face is an image that will never leave my mind. I took a deep breath and continued. However, today, two people acted unethically, and no one stopped them. Those who only think of themselves and turn a blind eye are not needed in this company. Everyone is fired, and the building will be demolished. The entire venue buzzed with shock. With the buzz of the audience behind me, I left the stage.
President, that was an amazing speech. Truly inspiring.
Basil, in stark contrast to his previous attitude, now approached me like a different person. What?
I mean, I apologize for my rude comments the other day. I had no idea she was your daughter.
So, is it okay to hurt her if she wasn't my daughter? I fired back at him.
No, that's not what I meant. But her name.
I got divorced. She took my ex-wife's last name, so she's Mariko Yokoyama now.
I see.
Enough. Get Vesper in here. Vesperin, looking defeated and barely able to stand without support, was called over.
Yes.
President, I deeply apologize. Please forgive me.
Don't think you have a chance. You're both fired. Leave and never come back. I then notified Basil and Vesperin of their termination. Immediately after, I was sternly reprimanded by my father, the chairman.
We are responsible for the lives of our employees and their families. Do not speak rashly.
Yes, but those two.
Yes, those two can go, but protect the other employees.
I'll retract my statement immediately. Thus, I retracted my statement from the induction ceremony and focused on protecting the livelihoods of everyone else except Basil and Vesperin. Despite the social media uproar and being labeled a black company, not a single employee, including the new hires, decided to leave. The company revisited and redefined its principles and values. By practicing actions based on these principles, it took the first steps to regain trust. Additionally, the company focused on social contribution activities and community support to show how it could benefit society. Meanwhile, Basil and Vesperin aimed for re-employment and attended interviews at several companies.
You've worked in publishing before, right?
Yes, that's correct. I previously worked at a publishing company.
I see. No wonder your name sounds familiar. We don't hire people who lack ethics. Please leave.
Basil stuttered, looking bewildered. He reflected on his wrongdoings, his heart filled with regret and anger. Vesperin, staring out of her window at home, let out a deep sigh. Like Basil, her unusual name was a curse in her job search. Moreover, the video of the incident remained as a digital tattoo, never disappearing, the stares and whispers from passers-by recognizing her as that person from the video eroded her spirit. Gradually, Vesperin began to withdraw from society. A year after the incident, my company was slowly regaining public trust. Mariko, determined to prove her worth, took job tests again and secured a position on her own.
Dad, thank you for standing up for me back then, even threatening to demolish the building.
Yay, I might have gone a bit too far. This corporate philosophy remains unchanged. We aim to be a company that bridges the US and the world, spreading American culture globally and ensuring that Americans are admired and shine not only domestically but internationally.